president of 1-800-Flowers. As you know, we are a eminent sort of gifting platform, and 1-800-Flowers is our flagship floral brand. But we have an all-star lineup of brands, including Harry and David, Cheryl's Cookies, etc. So, we want to create and lead a platform that allows people to express, connect, and celebrate. So very privileged. This is my 10th year with the company, and I've played a number of sort of internal roles, but really excited to be part of a customer journey that is built around sort of expression, connection, and celebration. Main streets in a lot of cities and counties devastated, a lot of people without jobs. So actually, what stuck out to me is still, even though our confidence as a community is rising, there is less fear. I think there's still a strong undercurrent of just enormous cognitive load and stress on part of all customers and employees and all of our other stakeholders that we are privileged to work with. And I think that, this duality of state where there is a bunch of good news surrounding you, and there's an underlying sense still of dissonance. I think that's what sort of stood out. As a society, we are seeing an acceleration of engagement and expression. People really want to, make sure that they are acknowledging sort of the deepest relationships in our lives. Because if you think about it, like the 6 feet apart, physical distancing has actually paradoxically made us a little bit more closer together in our expression, right? So, very happy about what we saw as continued acceleration of that expression. We have considered always sort of innovation as part of our DNA, starting from Chris and Jim, who founded the company, and really push on a daily basis. How are we innovating alongside our customers? So when we look at a culture of innovation, we really look at a culture of being customer first. And as customers adopt platforms, adopt mediums, adopt modes of content consumption, engagement, expression, we want to be alongside them. And then over time, we have seen sort of the mediums and the platforms evolve. But one thing remains. I think when companies think about innovation, they think about a process or a project to undertake. Whereas I think innovation is a mindset. And the reason I say that is that a lot of the internal drag coefficients that we have that pull down innovation are actually the ones that are never talked about when we talk about how can we be more innovative. So it's not about setting up a separate team. It's not about setting up a separate competency, but actually allowing and empowering your frontline operators to think about how can they move the dial closer to the customer. So innovation for us is a pathway to get closer to the innate expressions of the customer. I have this internal framework that we spend a lot of time about, and I'll share that with you as a framing device. But we talk about the 3 C's. And by that, I mean sort of the content, community, and then commerce. I
Yeah.
think what we have foundationally and fundamentally seen evolve in marketing is this idea that people are consuming content in a very deep manner. The ideas of community that content can engage, that your company can engage, are so incredibly important. I mean, if you think about the growth of communities around companies, you literally have people who have gone through deep understanding of what the company does, what the customers should expect, and they're putting forth a point of view which is now getting rallied around by people around them. So I think
Right.
that's a very important outcome. And a combination of these two is also how you market your commerce stack. And that what I've seen the evolution as that everyone wants to be digital now, but the baseline of what is considered acceptable by the customer has gone up tremendously. So I think this conversation around data has to move from the idea of what we think about data as just binary sets of numbers and traceability of the customer, to a much more healthier understanding of what does it mean for us, what's the North Star guiding when we think
Mm.
about data, and certainly then everything else that goes with it, people, process, and technology.
And finally, because I do have to go, but any quick thoughts on best practices around retention moving forward? I know you, when we had our prep call, you were talking about, yeah, sometimes we're sending emails just to check in and say hello. Not necessarily trying to sell anybody anything, but what are your best practices for retention as it relates to longtime customers and the new customers, and particularly this new consumer that we're
I
going to
would
see
say,
evolve?
Drew, very quickly, it all stems from how empowered your customer experience function is, because the
Mm,
way we think about sort of segmenting customers is what quality and quantum of customer experience is most meaningful to them, and then everything flows from that in terms of retention. And I would say, the starting point, I would tell everyone in the audience, and I certainly do. I spend an hour every week listening to our 1-800 calls, whether on customer service side or ordering side. Listen to your customers. They are sharing with you more than they have ever done, and they are
mm.
actually really enthusiastic about what they have to say.
Right. No, that's great. Look, Ahmed, I could always talk to you for an hour. And I definitely look forward to the time when we can get you back on stage in person at one of our events and I can see you and we can have a drink and talk about all of this in person. But thanks as always. Stay well. And I do hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.